Thank you thank you very much for your kind words, Manori. Venerable Sirs, Venerable Bhikkhunis, uh, Professor Manori Sena Nayaka, servants of the Buddha, and dear Dhamma friends. Today's topic, as Manori mentioned, is a deep topic, which is a common topic that we find in Buddhist Tripitaka. So it's very good for us to have some insight into this topic. So we are going to talk on gratification, danger, and escape. So these three are with regard to sensual pleasures. There are 5 sense perceptions with regard to the external world. Those stimulate, arouse, and ignite the sensual pleasures and gratification. These 5 perceptions are the seeing of visual objects, pleasant ones here in this topic. Hearing soothing, nice, attractive sounds with the ears. Smelling fragrances, good odors with the nose. Tasting or cognizing many flavors in the external atmosphere. These 5 perceptions, and there are sensory objects outside, visual objects, auditory objects for hearing, and objects that those are smells in the external world, then gustatory or objects that are for the tongue, and there are sensory objects which are for the body. So we are eternally experiencing, pursuing, experiencing these sensory objects by perceiving them through the 5 sense doors. Once they are internalized, we can present all what we have perceived earlier to the mind door over and over again. So even though we say that there are 5 codes of sensory stimulation, there is a 6th one which is internal. Internal presentation is very strong, as do the external ones. Now here, what is the gratification? What is the gratification here? Now when we perceive nice pictures, nice object, nice visual things, we become very happy. They become very attractive to us, alluring, adorable. They give us great happiness. Great in the sense, in the mundane way. So this kind of happiness, this kind of pleasure, this kind of alluring nature and enticing nature of the external objects that we perceive is the gratification. Now, this gratification was not denied, is not denied by Buddha. Buddha accepted there is gratification. There is sense gratification. And ordinary laymen, mostly uninstructed, untaught, or instructed and taught either, as laymen, they become very happy over this, over the perceptions, over the 5 codes of gratification, pleasure. They become extremely happy. So this happiness, this enjoyment, this alluring nature, this adorable nature of these perceptions is a phenomenon that we all experience. So in Buddha's word, if they are not so, the lay people wouldn't have pursued that. They wouldn't have any desire to them. Because they are giving gratification, they are generating gratification, is the reason why people are going behind. People are chasing behind. So it's very wrong to say there is no enjoyment at all with the good, pleasant sensory perceptions. And also it is wrong to discard at once and try to be away from all that, all of a sudden, suppressing yourself to a great extent and put them away is not a practical thing. That is what even Samma Sambuddha saw when he was struggling for 6 years. He tried to be away from all alluring sensory perceptions by applying great force. If you read the Maha Satchaka Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, he gives a great explanation about how he wanted to put away all these pleasant sensory perceptions. But later on, he understood that there is a better way than that. Then he gave it up. And also he condemned it later in his Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the first discourse. Now, very importantly, what does this gratification do to us? Now, it's a very important thing that we have to look into. The gratification makes you happy, that we know. Now, if it is an ordinary putujjana or an uninstructed world being, untaught world being, he is grossly a normal person who is living in the society. So his living is for what? That's what he feels. Is to earn a living, yes. He earns a living because food is number one. Then clothing is there. Shelter is necessary. So all that is basic necessities. Once he gets that, he becomes a little isolated because nothing else to do. Then what he does is, he then starts enjoying, gratifying all what he perceives through his sense doors. He is demanding for a nice world. He wants to live in a nice world. Living in a nice world is always by looking into the sensory pleasures, unless you are spiritually bent. So the sense enjoyment of sensory pleasures fills up his vacuum, because he is not ready to eat, dress up, go for work and come merely to do that and keep quiet. That's the human nature, and that's the nature of any being. So now this kind of gratification, what happens is, if it is a person from another teaching, he will never know what Buddhism says. So he is grossly a normal person in the society. But we as Buddhists at least know certain dangers and escape and liberation and all that. But even though it is so, we also don't work hard. Now, in this mode of gratification, the normal person, will think of the normal person who has no idea of liberation, who is not committed to any liberation path, who is not liberated to any treading a path towards Nibbana. He doesn't want, he actually doesn't know sometimes, most of the time, that there is something called liberation and higher satisfaction and happiness. So what happens to him is, when he enjoys the sensual pleasures, he gets indulged. He gets indulged in it. He gets intoxicated. His mind gets thoroughly connected to the enjoyment. So he is intoxicated, he is indulged, he is attracted, and he pursues. Because he is so much indulged, now this is the way he generally goes. His desire increases. More you enjoy the pleasures and more you gratify your senses, more desirable you become. That you must have experienced in your life. So his desire increases. Because of this desire, because this lust, he lusts towards more and more sensual experiences. So since it is a kind of intoxicated blindness, and since he doesn't know that there is a liberation, there is a way out, there is a better happiness than this, he all the time enjoys through his eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and the body and the mind. At least if he doesn't have any perception through anything, his mind will work. And good things he will just try to bring into the mind door. Old ones and what he's going to do and how he's going to enjoy and all that. So this is like a river of honey flowing towards him for him. It's so enjoyable, so engrossed, so bound, so clung, so attracted. So that is the normal, uninstructed, entirely a gross layperson, his attitude. So when I come to the danger, I will tell a little more. Then let's look at the person who is having the idea. Most of the time it's the person who has read the Buddhist literature and listened to Dhamma, who has the idea of a spiritual progress. If there is a person like us, we are there for that. If there is somebody who knows that there is a liberation, who is getting a little fed up with the suffering nature of the samsara, that he wants to quickly stop the progress of samsara, if he wants to liberate himself, if he knows that there is a higher happiness, even though it is not said an enjoyment, higher happiness in the spiritual life and its end, he is a person who will have to, or who will look at the gratification in a different way. The pleasure in a different way, sensory pleasure, sense perceptions and the pleasure. Now he is a person who wants to liberate. But Buddha says, even though a monk or a layperson is committed to liberation and its path, he must thoroughly know the gratification. He must thoroughly know the gratification. He must know, even though you are committed, you must thoroughly know. That is what Buddha said. I was searching what the gratification is. I was searching what the danger is. I was searching what the escape is, and I found all three. So it doesn't mean it's taboo for a person who is committed to tread the path to thoroughly know what gratification is. Indulgence and knowing are two different things. If even for you not to get indulged, you must know what gratification is. If you know only, you thoroughly know that this is the way I escape. So Buddha says the alluring nature, the enticing nature, the pleasing nature, the enjoyable nature, adorable nature, all should be thoroughly known by the individual who is treading the path also. Now that he is going to get attached, he knows it very well. And he knows it, and that person, the previous individual, I said, it's like a river of honey flowing towards him because he really out for enjoyment. But for this one, who is spiritually progressive, it's like a huge stone rolling towards him to crush his spiritual path. You see the difference? Now he sees the alluring, nice, good, pleasant, nice nature. He also sees. But he sees that nature with the kind of fear. Whether it will crush my spiritual life. So that is the way he knows it. He he contemplates it. While doing that, he looks into something else also. He strongly believes the Buddha's word. The Buddha's word says the danger is very much greater than the gratification. So he believes that. He comes to the world seeing and experiencing pleasant objects with that idea. So he knows that there is a great danger. The first one never knew it was dangerous. What he thought was it is dangerous not to enjoy the first one. He might lose grip. But this one comes with the idea of liberation. So he sees the danger which we come to, a great danger compared to the little pleasure and gratification, which Buddha said. So Buddha's word can't be otherwise. As well, he knows that sensory gratification, now this is through his learning, Sutame Jnana, Chintame Jnana, Bhavaname Jnana, he has all that. So we are like that. So he knows that there is something not enough in the sensual pleasures. Buddha said, Uno loco. Una means not enough, lacking. Una samartha, in exams people say Una samartha means he has passed but not very well. So uno loco. So this disciple knows that the world, the pleasures have something not enough. They are demanding. You have to keep them going. You stop, they stop. And it will never satisfy you, never saturate you. You want more and more. You want further persuasion. That is called atitto. Atitta. Atitta means not getting saturated. So he comes with that idea. He lives in the world with that idea. When he sees any experiences, any sensory pleasure, the pleasantness of that he knows. The pleasantness of that he knows. Not that he doesn't know. While knowing the pleasantness, while knowing the enjoyable nature, he knows the other part of it also. And he knows that it's quite a temporary thing. So he then does not, naturally, when he thinks that way, naturally he doesn't go into the indulgence. He may, sometimes you may fall and stand, but his idea and his determination is to tread the path properly. So with that idea, when you are strongly committed spiritually, now our commitment, my dear Dhamma friends, must be very strong. It can't be half-hearted. If you want to liberate, your commitment must be very strong. You can live a normal life, but your idea of liberation should be a very strong commitment, not little. Maybe a bit difficult when we are living a lay life, but still it is the norm. Now, when you see this, other part of it is the person who got engrossed in the pleasant nature of the sensory perceptions of gratification. He is not free because he goes into clinging, upadana. He goes into mental constructions which will lead to akusala. Because always, either you like it or not, take it from me, sensory pleasure and enjoyment, the gratification of sensory pleasure is always with the Lobha mind, Lobha and Moha mind. So it is always akusala. Always akusala. When Buddha said that there is some enjoyment in the sensory gratification, Buddha at the same time said that the mind which is generated, that the enjoyment is akusala. So no way out. It's akusala. So that you are fueling your samsara in the process of sensory enjoyment. That, of course, you have to take it into heart very much. So then the other thing is, we are coming into danger. When we describe the danger, the mundane kind of dangers, the dangers you encounter in the mundane life, is vividly described in the Mahadukkha Kanda Sutta. There Buddha says, the danger must be known by every disciple if he is to tread the path properly. So the mundane dangers are enough described in the Majjhima Nikaya Mahadukkha Kanda Sutta. I will just touch on it because you can't go to details. Now, Buddha says, when a person living a mundane life, he is enjoying the sensual pleasures. More he enjoys the sensual pleasures, more desirable he comes in. He desires and he pursues, he lusts for sensual pleasures. So he has to do additional hard work to earn for the entertainment of sensual pleasures. So for the gratification, for the enjoyment, he has to work more. He has to earn more to see nice things, hear nice things, bring nice things home, smell nice things, taste nice things. No end. Endless. So you have to work more. Even the poorest of the poor, if you are not having a good insight, always the nature is that. Even in a little way, even in your own way, you would like to enjoy. We are not asking you not to, but you wait and see. That is what we have to see, if we are committed. So you have to work additionally. Now that working hard, working additionally, doing overtime, going through sun and the cold, all that is described in that sutta. You have to go through immense hardships. Though we don't feel, we have to go through immense hardships when you work too hard. Even to earn a normal living, you have to work hard. But imagine if you work hard to earn for sensual pleasures, that will be still more. Sometimes, so that's one danger. Go through a lot of hardships. Another is, even though you work hard so much, you may not get what you want. So you might think it's in vain I worked hard. And you will be sorrowing, you will be weeping, you may be lamenting, you may be, hitting hard on your breast that I have lost my hard work, I have not got what I wanted. Maybe even for a post and a position. It's the same. Again, it's working hard for a pleasurable situation. Not that you shouldn't work hard, but these are the dangers. If your expectation is enjoyment, you must always know that these are things that can happen. Sometimes you may get what you want, you may keep them in your house, but somebody might steal it. King may take it, confiscate, you may be robbed of your property. Water can wash it away. It can be burned down. A relation of yours who is very envious and jealous of you can take its share. So these are the losses of what you earn. So that's again a great suffering. It gives you great suffering. So that is why Buddha says, likewise, you have the suffering. You try to enjoy, there is some enjoyment, but there is a big suffering on the other side of the coin. So that's the Buddha's version. And then you may like to have something that the other person has. You may like to get into the other person's domain, grab it, so that you may fight with the others, fight with the house members. I saw in a nice video on this by Ajahn Brahmali. He was saying the two brothers may fight for the TV program. You saw the other one to give me the chance today. They keep eternally fighting. Very true. So those are small fights. Kings and kings may fight. And tribes may fight. They'll take all sorts of weapons, which is happening. When it is especially the resources are less, if you have only a few things in the food market or wherever on the shelf, people start fighting for that because the resources are little. It is happening for gas and petrol. How many fights do you see? In front of your eyes, you see what Buddha said. So all are trying to live a life. I know some people pump petrol to go on a trip and enjoy life. After a big struggle, 3 days in the queue and fighting with the people, blackguarding the others, going through such a lot of suffering, go on a one-day trip. So you can see, not that I don't get the idea that I'm going against all pleasures. Pleasures are there. Even Buddha said, don't throw them away at once. Understand. When you come to an understand, it will just fall off you. Just fall off you. I can say so many things that have fallen off me because I'm thinking of the spiritual life so much. So that now that is a hard description of Buddha, and then the people will break into houses, which is happening now, to grab the other people's property for them to have a good life. Not only to eat, don't think the poor man is robbing of you just to eat and live. No, no. They will go and light a cigarette, buy a bottle. All that enjoyment will be there. People don't rob of you just to live, but there can be some people innocently doing it since they didn't have anything to eat. But still, wrong is wrong. Anyway, circumstances may make them do so. But Buddha said that they will go seduce other people's wives and daughters. So this kind of things what will happen to him? What is the danger for him? Though he is enjoying that, he will next go through the punishment. Punishment will be in the jail, or if you have murdered, it can be capital punishment. So all that suffering because he just couldn't be without enjoying that little time because he has not trained himself. So, Dhamma friends, you can see what Buddha said was, in the mundane life itself, the suffering can be immense. Suffering can be immense. So, and also you are making karma, so the next life also is not going to be good for you. because you are going in and falling into a dangerous place. You are appearing in a dangerous place, right? So that is for the next slide. So the pleasure, now this is the reason why Sila is prescribed for people. The rules of discipline is imposed just to stop the people somewhere down the line, to give them a boundary, because otherwise they will always cross the boundary and go for enjoyment. So to prevent that, the sila is very important. So though people say that, some people try to say sila alone is not enough. But in this kind of place where the uneducated, untaught, uninstructed individual go overboard and cross the line and make sins instead of wholesome deeds, to prevent that to some extent, the sila imposed is very important, until we come to understanding that we shouldn't do that on the spiritual way. And the next danger is very, very important for us. Now, I told you that the person who is committed to spiritual life, he sees the pleasure and the gratification and the joy as a big stone rolling towards him to crush him. Because he knows the gravity, he knows the suffering, he knows how it will be a hindrance. So the biggest danger is for all of us here, that it will be an impediment, it will be a hindrance to our spiritual progress. So it will be a big hindrance to our spiritual progress, because your heart and soul is your liberation. That is what we are working for. If that is so, it's very important for you to contemplate the danger, the so-called danger of the sense gratification. So sense gratification, the danger for the normal person, not known, unknown, he doesn't want to know. He wants to be engrossed and indulged and enjoy. He doesn't know a danger, he doesn't want to liberate, he doesn't want to think of a danger. So even though he doesn't think in the normal sansaric way, he will definitely get it. So that's, we are all compassionate towards such people. But in the spiritual man who is treading the spiritual path, for him, he knows the gratification very well. He knows the danger very well. And as he gets a pleasant perception, he knows what it is thoroughly and truly. So when that happens, he contemplates that way, not that he doesn't enjoy the pleasantness. He will see the pleasantness. His indulgence will gradually, little by little, start reducing. So that is the danger. So that's the danger of having sense gratification given a big place in your life. So even though there is pleasantness is quite good. Now in the Arahant's case, when a pleasant perception is there, he also perceives the pleasantness. But by default, now I am coming to the Arahant, the noble disciple. By default, there is no attachment to indulgence. That is by default. He has nothing to think. He has nothing to work very, very hard to with every perception that he gets. By default, because he has eradicated all defilements. So since he has no defilements, since he has no tanha, moha, dvesha, and other kleshas, The perceptions are pleasant to them. When the perception goes away, he sees the vacuum. But even though he sees the vacuum, he doesn't weep and sorrow. His mind is very steady and equivalent. So that is the difference. That is the place we are trying to go to as spiritual followers. And the last thing is, we come to the escape. With the categorically says in the escape can be in the mundane life for a spiritual person, and in the mundane life, and then going into jhanas, you can escape for a while temporarily. You can escape again when you completely eradicate the defilements. So that is the final escape. So Buddha says, with the sensual pleasures, you never can come to the final goal, because they are two opposite and opposing forces. Sensual pleasures, if you enjoy and if you entertain and indulged in, that person will never come to the final goal of Arahantship. So one day, when we escape from the sansaric life, the totally 100% the sensual pleasures have gone from us. Not that we are forcibly suppressing, they have gone from us. But as a lay people who are spiritually trying to tread the path, I advise my Dhamma friends, dear friends, to try and train your mind. Whenever you can do it. I don't say something that you can't do, because I have done it. But I am not an Arahant. I have done it in my experiments in this Buddha Dhamma. I have done it most of the time. If you look at the pleasures that you gain, something nice that you see, something nice that you hear, something nice that you smell, taste, and tangible, comforting, tangible, you can always, if you look at it with the idea at the back of your mind, which I told you now, the danger and the temporary nature, anicca nature, not enough nature, demanding nature, and if you get into the thing, there is no way out. So the biggest hindrance is when you pursue sensual pleasures, more you pursue, more difficult it is for you to come out of it. So that your spiritual life will be thoroughly disturbed. So with that idea, if you look at the sense perceptions which are pleasant, the pleasant nature can be always seen by you. Pleasant feeling will always come to you. The advice is not to get indulged, not to pursue, not to lust towards that. Then when you practice it slowly, you naturally become a person of that nature. So it's very important for you to go through this practice of spiritual life. And also I would give you some, it's said in the Buddha Dhamma, when you start practicing dana, you get detached from many things that you liked and you were benefited by. And when you develop your Brahma Vihara, compassion towards others, metta towards others, being happy over the other person's joy, which stops you to a great extent from getting into sensual pleasures and crossing the boundaries and going overboard. So this kind of practice is extremely important for all of us. I think the meditation and all what you generally do as the practice will be the ultimate thing that will give you the escape. So escape cannot be spoken of this way. The advice Buddha has given at the end of Mahadukka Kanda Sutra is renouncing and abandoning sensual pleasure is the door that is open for your spiritual success. So that is what escape is. So escape is given in that tone. So, Dhamma friends, I think I am going through the time allocated to me. I think this one is not only a talk, this is a kind of a practicing mode for you every day. So may all beings be well and happy. Thank you very much for your patience.